Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 134. Whoa. Otherwise known as season 7, episode 15. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Exhausted. I'm at the tail end of Beyond Fest.
Ah, yeah, you've been working a lot, huh?
Yeah, no, it's been a very busy couple weeks, both attending and working Beyond Fest.
It's a double edged. You've been getting a lot of theater time in. Also with us, as always, is your other host, John Correia. How you doing, Correia?
Oh, dude, pretty good. My chair is especially squeaky today, so I think I'm going to have to WD-40 it a bit later. But yeah, other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, I have a dog playing with a squeaky toy in the background. So if you hear a squeak, it's either Korea's chair or my dog playing. Let's hop into this. What have you guys been seeing? What's there's, you know what? I think both of you guys have seen and I haven't, but I want to hear about, but not too much about. Let's talk The Substance.
Oh, yeah,
Ooh.
The Substance was amazing.
That's what I hear. Now, don't spoil anything, but let's hear about it.
First and foremost, I want to say, I think everyone knows how much I've been bitching about crowds at movie theaters and how much
Oh no.
I hate audiences at
Did you have a bad
movie
screening?
theaters. And I gotta say, you have to see this movie with a crowd.
Okay,
because of course, AMC theater audiences suck, and yeah, there was a few talkers, but when that movie hits, it is great hearing people's reactions, except for those two people who sat right behind me and had to give commentary every fucking time. But no, it was great. It's some great body horror. I think there's some really great. It's super on the nose with the commentary it's doing. It is not subtle at all, but that's perfectly fine. I'm seeing people compare it to like Cronenberg body horror, but really, it's Yuzna all the way. It is.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a modern day society.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really goes for it. And it goes on for so long. Like you get your money's worth. This isn't one of those like, here's the gross thing. And then it quickly cuts away. Like you stay in it for a while. And I got to say, the reason why it works so well is because of Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley just giving performances of their careers, especially Demi Moore. Holy shit. Like she goes, it's so layered. There's even like one point where she goes into some like hagsploitation type craziness. But it's all still very weirdly grounded. I'm one of those people that will say with all the body horror stuff, still the grossest scene, and if you've seen the trailer, you know the scene. It's Dennis Quaid eating shrimp. Is just the grossest thing.
And it's just so wild that Dennis Quaid did this where he plays an extremely hammy talent agent the same year he's also playing Ronald Reagan.
Dude, both movies are in the theaters right now. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? But yeah, no, The Substance is a lot of fun. It's absolutely great. Mubi right now is killing it between this release and the new 4K restoration of Tarson's The Fall, which was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I was at that screening too.
Oh, I had the drunk people right in front of me at that one, or the drunk person right in front of me.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, someone got arrested. That was crazy.
Yeah, they just refused to leave.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, Beyond Fest has been a lot of fun. I managed to go to, I think, like 18 movies. And a lot of good news stuff, a lot of great repertory. I have to say some of my favorites were I was at the West Coast premiere of VHS Beyond, which might be one of my top favorites in that franchise because it's basically VHS, but it's all sci-fi horror. Like every segment has kind of a sci-fi horror twist to it. Did either of you see that?
I did see it. It's on Shudder right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it mostly deals with like aliens and stuff. I think my favorite segment is the Justin Long one.
Oh yeah, Fur Babies.
Yeah, which you can totally tell is made by the guy who was in Barbarian and Tusk.
Yeah,
That's all you have to
felt
say.
like it felt like he was processing being in those movies for that segment, which he co-wrote with his brother. And I have to say my favorite segment was the first one, Stork.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, because that one felt like the best Resident Evil movie because it's basically about this like special tactics and rescue type group, or rather they're called Warden. And also I talked to the director Jordan Downey after the screening. He said there was a bunch of Easter eggs at the beginning with like the VHS tapes they look over before they head out, and there is a Ratma tape, so take of that as you will.
Ratma.
Yeah, there is a Ratma mention.
Stork felt to me, and maybe this is what you meant by a Resident Evil movie. It felt to me like a first-person shooter because most of it
it had a video game vibe to it.
Yeah, most of it is like body cam footage from these warden officers, and you'll see like them like reload their guns and stuff, and it totally looked like a first-person shooter.
Yeah, no, and it was also based off of this horror artist's art, Oleg Videnko. He actually drew the original images kind of as horrors, kind of as a horror comic or like short horror comic. It really comes through, and yeah, no, just without spoiling, like there's just so many great monsters in that, especially the titular stork, and what exactly that entails. Because yeah, no, it's just such a good blend.
There's a fun monster in one of the segments is done by, is his name Justin Martinez, the Radio Silence guy?
Yes.
The skydiving episode.
Oh yeah, Live and Let Dive.
Yeah. There's a fun monster in that one too.
Yeah, there's some crazy ass aliens in some of these.
And of course, the fun monster in Fur Babies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how was Kate Siegel's one? That's the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, no, I really loved hers, the Stowaway.
Yeah, hers is it's about like a YouTuber kind of a thing who she's tracking down this UFO, and she, like it says, she stows away on this UFO as it goes. So that one was interesting. I kind of had issues with the actress who was playing the lead. I don't know. I guess maybe I don't watch enough of those kind of YouTubers, but she seemed kind of like clinical and kind of, I don't know. It almost seemed like she was explaining everything a little too much rather than let us figure it out. But I don't know. I mean, it was a good segment. I mean, if all of the segments are solid in this might be the most consistent VHS entry. You know, I don't think any of the segments were weak at all.
Yeah, no, I'd say overall it was a well-rounded VHS entry.
Yeah, usually I there's one or two that I think are kind of but these one they're all pretty solid.
Nice.
Yeah. And let's see. I was also at the premiere of Spider-One's new movie, Little Bites. And you guys have seen some of Spider-One's other movies, right?
I'm not sure. What else have they done?
Bury the Bride, Allegoria. She doesn't really like rabbits.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, well, it was an interesting film. And it was just wild because at the Beyond Fest screening, the film was introduced by one of its producers, someone who you may be familiar with.
Cher.
Cher?
Yeah, Cher. Cher produced the movie because Chaz Bono's in it.
And she was there? She was there.
She introduced the movie along with the cast and crew.
It was great because they announced it at one of the screenings at Beyond Fest, and they're like, and don't forget, what's coming up? And they're like, oh, and Little Bites, which is going to have an appearance by Cher. And everyone's like, yeah. And they're like, no, we're serious. Cher's going to be there. And everyone's like, okay. No, guys, Cher is coming to Beyond Fest. And then it took like a few like, no, we're not fucking around, because it sounds like a joke they would make, but no, Cher was there.
That tells you about Beyond Fest's reputation for, trolling people. I heard that they were playing the Speak No Evil trailer like between every trailer.
They did sneak it in there so that you'd think they're going to play the Speak No Evil trailer.
They played like the first 15 seconds. It was like right up into the moped. So you got the like guitar thing, and then it was like it would stop at the moped and go right into the actual trailer. And it happened about 7 or 8 times before every fucking showing. And the first time they did it, I lost my mind, because when they first started it, I was like, no, we just got over this. What? It's in theaters. What are they going to do? Another special screening of it? What's that? And then it stopped. I was like, what was that? Was there a glitch or something? And then it happened again. And I was like, what is happening? It was by the third time I got the joke and was like, oh, okay. We're
Talk about having your finger on the pulse. That's
Yeah.
just hilarious.
But anyway, Little Bites was pretty interesting. It's basically about this widow who is keeping her daughter at her mother's because there's a blood-sucking demon monster that lives in the house, and it takes little bites out of her to stay satiated, but it keeps on threatening to eat her daughter, and it just kind of deals with the stressors of trying to care for a family while also having a literal demon in her basement.
Hell yeah. That sounds dope. Is it getting a wide release or going to a streamer soon?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it looks like it's available VOD now.
Nice. I'm gonna have to wait a little bit before I can do another digital rental or something because I dropped $20 on the new Hellboy the Crooked Man movie. But yeah, Hellboy the Crooked Man was one of my more anticipated movies of the year because, as you guys know, I love the Hellboy series. And I've actually talked about that comic in particular in a previous episode of Korea's Book Nook. And I gotta say, you know, the Crooked Man is getting shat on pretty hard right now, but it is solid. I would have tell everyone the same thing I tell anyone who's getting into anything that's Hellboy. If you know the Guillermo del Toro movies, just know everything else is not the Guillermo del Toro movies. When it comes to Hellboy, it takes very different tones, very different perspectives. Oftentimes in the Hellboy adventures, he's a side character and it's everything else around him. And so you're kind of in his perspective with this weird world that he enters in. And that's what the story is. It's Hellboy in 1959. So you get a young, like 20-year-old or so Hellboy, and he's very much so in that mindset of like a 20-something-year-old. And he ends up in Appalachia and encounters this town that's plagued by an Appalachian devil and a whole bunch of witches. And the main devil is the Crooked Man, which is this very like old timey business tycoon turned into like a devil that collects souls, and he gets a penny for each soul. But he's always walking around with like his head tilted and his arms in a weird way. And it's a lot of fun. It's straight up Hellboy is in a horror movie. So while there is action, it's not action focused. It's more on like the spookiness. There's a lot of really weird jokes in it that I appreciated. Like the movie stops at one point and a witch tells you how to make a witch ball, which is a cursed object. It's a lot of fun. I really appreciated how faithful it was to the comic. It was very straight up, like we're doing it. Like you could hold up things. I'd say, a lot of people are saying that it's held back by its budget. Like you can tell that it's the smallest budget of a Hellboy movie, but what they were able to accomplish with that budget, I think is pretty insane too. So yeah, is it worth a $20 rental? I would, if you love that comic book in particular, and understand that this is not Guillermo del Toro. This is a Hellboy horror movie. But yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked it. And then I go online to see how other people are reacting to it. And I was like, we went in with different expectations, guys.
Have either of you guys watched Oddity yet on Shudder?
Not yet.
No, that's on my list for this weekend.
It's pretty good. It's about this this woman who, and this all happens like almost pre-credits. This woman she's alone at this country mansion, and she gets murdered, and her husband and sister, they know who murdered them, and the person gets convicted and everything, and sent to this mental institution, but things are not as they seem. And the sister is like a psychic, and she can like touch objects and can tell, about the person. And the killer, and I say quote killer, dies, and he has this fake eye. So the doctor, who's the husband, brings the sister this, said, hey, you wanted this. And she touches it, and she realizes that this guy wasn't the killer. because she touches his eye. So it opens up a whole little mystery thing. And it's a pretty creepy. I mean, there's a lot of fun, like not really witchcraft, but like occult stuff that goes on. And it's a cool, like little mystery kind of a thing. There's like twists and turns everywhere. It's pretty fun. I think you guys will have fun with it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing it. I've heard it's legit scary.
It does have its moments, yes. Even watching at home on Shutter, it definitely it has its moments. And I know that if I was in a theater, I would have jumped halfway out of my seat.
Oh, and another movie that I have to mention that I saw, Steven Kostanski's new film, which is a throwback to the tiny terror movies of old, like Ghoulies and Gremlins, called Frankie Freako.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about it?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm so excited, though.
Oh, so much fun. It is basically about this really uptight and milquetoast guy who's tempted to call. Well, I mean, it's like a joke on those old Freddy Freaker 900 numbers. Did you ever see that weird little yellow gremlin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he calls it, and he actually summons these three little gremlin guys called Freakos, led by Frankie Freako, who's like a party monster, like literally, and they mess up the house and get into all kinds of chaotic shenanigans. And it just felt like a natural extension of those types of movies, because it's just a bunch of little monsters and they're here to party and cause chaos, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, like the Munchies and Munchie.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I was getting. Or Garbage Kid, Pale Kids, the movie. It's
A
great.
little bit of that too. Or Munchie, played by the great Dom DeLuise.
Yeah.
Fucking Kostansky.
Yeah, no, it was a fun time. And yeah, no, and it did play with that effects. And also is specifically a lot of references to Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College. Like there's even a character named Mr. Beekler after Ghoulies effects artist and director John Carl Beekler.
Any movie that makes a bunch of references to Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, it immediately has my heart.
Yeah, like honestly, that should have been the trend aside from horror sequels going to space, like horror sequels going to college. Like, why wasn't there Critters 5, Critters Go to College?
Yeah, why wasn't there a Hellraiser, Pinhead Goes to College?
Why couldn't it have been Jason Goes to College? One other thing that isn't really worth talking about too much that I saw. Have either of you guys seen Joker, Folie Deux?
Nope.
Nope, I'm good.
It's yeah, you kind of are.
Which is really sad because it's a Lady Gaga project, and I'm saying, no, I'm good.
Here's the deal. I'm not hating it as much as everybody else is, but it is not good. It's not nearly as good as the first one, which I get. We have differing opinions on the first one, but I thought the first one was really good. My favorite thing about the new one is what a lot of people are hating about it. I love the fact that it's a musical. It's probably the most organic musical I've ever seen, because seeing it through the Joker's eyes and the unreliable narrator and just how crazy he is, it just makes sense that people would break into song every once in a while. And the only people who break into song are him and Harley Quinn, which is Lady Gaga. And I mean, she's visiting him in prison, and they're the glass between them, and she starts singing just like me, they long to be close to you. And you're like, okay, I can see him thinking this is happening, because he's crazy. But yeah, it's rough, but I do enjoy the fact that it's a musical, which a lot of people are complaining about. It's like, it's a stealth musical. People didn't realize it was a musical.
Well, people didn't realize it was a musical because they're afraid to advertise musicals these days. Like,
yeah, like even Wicked wasn't advertised as a musical.
Oh, that's an ongoing joke. Every time we're at the theaters and they play the Wicked trailer, I go, wait, is this a musical? They made a musical of this?
I didn't know that The New Color Purple was a musical until they started singing in it.
Dude,
and
no one knew Mean Girls was a musical. No one knew Wonka was a musical. Like, guy, West Side Story barely advertised that it was a fucking musical, and it's West Side Story. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, we're gonna do West Side Story, but without music. That's just Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep, that is. But yeah, that's that's all we're gonna say about Joker Folie à Deux. And now let's welcome in our special guests for the episode. Today we are joined by two of the actresses from the Taking of Deborah Logan. We have Deborah Logan herself, Jill Larson, and Sarah Logan, Anne Ramsay. How you guys doing?
Great. Very
Hey.
happy.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And before we get started, let's wish a happy birthday to Jill.
Happy birthday, Jill.
Birthday.
Happy birthday, Jill.
Joining us on her birthday. So everybody reach out, say happy birthday.
Yay.
I always like to start at the beginning. How did you guys get your start in acting? I mean, you both have very long and illustrious resumes of work. How'd you guys get started?
How much time do you have?
So I was saying, you guys both go back years and years and years.
Yeah, exactly. We go back a long ways because we've been around a long time, I guess. But I'll just say, I started when I was a child here in Minneapolis, and I even before I got my first job at I think 11, I had been producing plays in my living room with all the kids in the neighborhood and all of that kind of thing, and so yeah, it was always just kind of in my blood, and then after I moved to New York, because I worked a long time here. This is a big theater community. Then I got the real sense of, oh, this is what you mean by show business. And it was brutal. And it took a long time. But little by little, I made my way. And I'm here now this morning. So.
And what about you, Anne?
Jesus. My mom took me to see the film. She took me to a matinee to see Funny Girl, Barbara Streisand. And it was like a thunderbolt to me. I was like, what was that? Like 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. And I was in this darkened theater. My mom was magic. I loved my mom. And here she is taking me to see this woman. And I just, in that dark theater, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And and then I knew I was going to go to UCLA. I had that kind of a thunderbolt moment too when I was 11 years old. And then I ended up going to UCLA and majoring in theater. And then the rest is, it all fell in. We wrote a play that honed to our strengths as actresses, the six of us at UCLA, the theater program, and it became an equity waiver hit. That's where I got my agent. And I was just so lucky how it fell into place like that.
Oh. Wow. So you had a sense that you wanted to go to UCLA when you were 11?
Yeah. So what happened was, I was raised in Altadena, Pasadena, and my best friend Joan and I rode our bikes down to the parade, the Rose Parade, and UCLA marching band was there, and also Stanford marching band was there in the parade that day. And I just said out loud, "Oh, I'm going to go to UCLA." And Joan said, "Oh, I'm going to Stanford." Guess what? Joan went to Stanford and I went.
Oh my God.
Dreams do come true.
That's great.
Wow.
Amazing.
And the power of a band.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So yeah, things like that happen to like my mom's side of the family. All the women have a little bit of psychic stuff going on, and so things like that happen to the females in our family. So
how great!
Yeah, it was cool. It was really
because then you learn to trust in that.
Yeah, exactly, Jill. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, that's funny about Funny Girl because. I, was here in Minneapolis, and by the time I was about 14, I knew I had to get to New York.
Yes.
I'd never been there, and I don't know where that came from. People ask me, well, how did you know? But anyway, I just knew.
Yeah.
And finally, when I was 17, my family, we took a trip, 7 of us in a station wagon driving from Minneapolis up through Canada and down through the falls and into, I mean, the story of our arrival in New York in that car is another chapter. It was pretty funny. But my mother had written ahead because I was already a musical geek and to get me a ticket for My Fair Lady, for Funny Girl.
Oh,
Which was playing on Broadway then.
you saw her on Broadway, Jill?
Yes, I did.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. And so anyway, yeah, that was my dad walked me to the theater and let me off. And I was in the back row of the balcony. I mean, she was the size of a pin, but yeah, it was the thrill of my life. It really
I bet. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Know.
Yeah, singing was my first love because of Barbara Streisand. I love Barbara Streisand. And she was a huge inspiration for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me too. I just sat in the living room and sang along with all of her.
Yes, exactly. I would.
Yeah.
Yes. That got played over and over, that soundtrack, right? Oh my God.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that about you, Jill. How funny.
Yeah.
That's the power of Barbara, though.
That's right.
I'm just surprised both of you knew exactly where you wanted to go as a teenager. I'm still figuring that out, and I'm 34. So
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Going back to what you're saying about your mom taking you to see Funny Girl. I always credit my mom for my love of horror because the earliest theatrical experience I can remember is my mom took me to see a double feature of Orca and Grizzly in theaters. And I'm sure it was to get into the air conditioning. I'm almost positive about that to go to a double feature.
Where did you grow up, Jay?
In San Diego. That's where I'm at now. Yeah. But it's kind of cool how if you have a supportive parent or even a parent who knows what you like. I mean, Star Wars is another big one that my parents took me to. I'm just like, that's when I was like, this is this is life changing.
My mom knew at a core level what she did was a huge guide for me. She knew instinctively, and she just gently guided me in that direction.
Gosh, how wonderful.
We're here to talk about the Taking of Deborah Logan, but before we get there, let's just touch a little bit on your guys' careers moving up, going up to it, because like I said, you guys both have real long and storied resumes. Jill, you were on All My Children.
Yes, I was, and
that was actually my sister and my mom's soap. So
mine too.
Was it?
Yes.
Gosh. I was sort of oblivious to the soaps until it was really kind of a fluke that I had done a non-contract role on One Life to Live, and then I had just moved to LA because the producer of One Life said you should go to California, and then they called and said, well, they're offering you this part on All My Children. And I thought, God, I know Dorothy, who played the role before me, but I never really saw the show. I don't know anything about it. And I just got here, and I don't think I want to do that. And a very dear friend of mine said, well, Jilly, you're here right now. But you don't have a job and you don't even have an agent who could get you a job. So maybe you just, I said, but they want a 4-year contract. I could never do that. She said, well, you could maybe get it down to 2 and then just think of it just a little 2-year prison term and then you could come back.
Oh, Jill, that's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And so what?
So then I was still quite distraught because I knew that Dorothy had already won 2 Emmys for playing that role.
Right.
She had really established something kind of extraordinary because she was directing me in an off Broadway play when she went into audition for that part. Oh. And she said, it's just 8 days, but I got to go do this because, I got to earn some real money. And so she went in for 8 days, did those 8 days, and then they just kept writing and writing for her, which often happens on the soaps. And but I had no idea how to step into those shoes. And
yes,
no,
you did actually. You were great. You were great.
well, thank you, thank you. I had to kind of rely on the fact that she and I had gone to neighboring high schools here in Minneapolis, you know.
Oh, okay.
So there was just maybe something like that in the blood. But
Cool. That's cool.
but when I was on my way just to go to the costume fitting, 4 Black teenagers came up and said, "You're the one who's going to be on All My Children." And I thought, holy shit,
Yeah.
I had no idea really of what the community and the energy and the passion of audiences was, until I started working there and realized what tremendous value they bring to, I think it's a little bit like sports for men. It gives them a common language. And so, yeah, then I came to just so appreciate my good fortune that this kind of dropped in my lap. And no, I didn't stay for just 2 years. I stayed for 22. So
It's amazing, Jill. That's amazing.
It seems like kind of a dream gig for an actor to have steady, 5 days a week episodes that air. I mean, that's steady work. And for 22 years, that's
and
that pays the bills.
That's exactly right. And we call it the golden handcuffs because, of course, as an actor, to play the same role for that long is a yay and a boo, because you want to get out and do other things and have other kinds of opportunities. But I did do a couple of little things, along the way, but mostly it was that. And I'd done a lot of theater prior to, so it wasn't like it was, my first experience. But
I would kill for that now. I just
no
love,
kidding.
right?
No kidding.
I would love to work every day. I would
Oh.
even just for my mental health. They don't
That's
even have to pay me. They don't have to pay me. I just need to go somewhere.
Don't say that too loud, and they're already getting to that.
And you had kind of a similar experience because when I saw the Taking of Deborah Logan, I recognized you from Mad About You. I don't know if that embarrasses you or not, but I remember that's where I was like, that's where I know that face from. So you kind of had a similar thing because being a regular on a sitcom is
That's my dream.
Oh, it is. Well, yeah, it's that's not embarrassing at all. I am so proud of Mad About You, and that character was such a fun role to do. That character is so weird and quirky that they had to give her the punchline. People had started expecting her to say something crazy. So I always got the best line. They wrote the best line, and then I would leave. It was I'm so fortunate that I got to play that role. And what a wonderful, great writing. And I learned so much from Paul and Helen on that show. And just very lucky to be on that. Yeah. Right after, that was right after League of Their Own. Yeah.
That's what I was about to seg there because I can tell Correia is chomping at the bit. Before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about A League of Their Own. And Correia, you can tell you want to take this part.
I was about to say that's where I know you from, man, and that's one of my all times. And I just our audience can't see it, but Anne has a behind the scenes photo from A League of Their Own as her Zoom photo, and it's such a sweet photo, and God, it's such a good movie, and the show's great too. I don't know if you guys have seen that one yet, but yeah. As someone who doesn't like baseball, it's one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. It's a classic now, right?
It is a classic. And it opened a door to a whole world that most of the world wasn't aware of, was this aspect of women playing baseball and having the success that they had. And then, of course, right after the war was over, bam, you're back, barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah. But, yeah, many people did not realize the league was happened, and it's a true.
Yeah.
Beautiful to be a part of that.
and just the writing and the acting and the camaraderie, just everything between you guys.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
on my desk, I have like some shelving, and I like printed out a bunch of little like memes or jokes or whatever, and one of them
Yeah.
is of Gina Davis shouting "Mule"
Yes.
from A Lady Crow.
Oh, yes. I'm still in touch with Gina. She's a friend, and
Oh.
I'll in touch with a lot of the women from the cast for sure. It's just it was such a blessing. I mean, my goodness.
Oh, we need to get another reunion together soon.
That's right.
We're actually doing some of us are getting together in, I think it's November. Where is it? Chicago. We're doing a sports show where we're signing, and Gina's going to be there, and we're taking photos for fans and everything. So I think that's November 24th in Chicago.
Oh, cool.
How much are tickets
Well,
to
my
Chicago?
daughter lives in Chicago.
Korea's Googling flights to Chicago right now.
Right.
But let's pivot to the Taking of Deborah Logan. That's the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was it about the project that attracted you both? Because, like you said, you guys are like serious actors, with long, storied careers, and here's this little micro budget found footage horror film. What attracted you to it?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that, like Soaps, I knew nothing about the horror world either. Sort of gives the impression that I just wander through life with a state of oblivion, but which is kind of true, but
It's not true. You're very politically active. I know that about you.
well, that's true. But yeah, and I was kind of nervous about it because I just thought, oh, I don't know. I did that one thing on Shutter Island, and I figured I could risk doing that because nobody would recognize me. And then they did. And so I thought, okay, well, I was reticent, but they kept calling me back. And each time you prepare for an audition, of course, you invest in it. So I was getting increasingly more invested in the idea. And as Anne said earlier, you don't get an opportunity to play a leading role in a film. That's my first and I hope not, but probably only opportunity of that nature. So I don't think there was ever a real thought that I would turn it down if it was offered to me. But I did have reticence, and God, I'm just so grateful that they did offer it to me, and I had the good sense to say yes. Because that was an amazing experience too, working with Anne Jeepers. So yeah.
And what drew you to the project?
You know what, Jill, I thank you. I feel the same way about working with you. It was extraordinary. Thank you so much. You're a wonderful collaborative artist. I can echo pretty much everything Jill just said. I mean, because I wasn't hugely connected to horror films or drawn to them. I've seen many, but that wasn't really anything I've ever done before. So I was like, how do I approach this?
You don't count Critters 4 as horror?
Yes, Critters 4. Oh my God. Thank you. I'd forgotten about that. Right.
Oh, we love the Critters movies. So
That's amazing.
you weren't going to get out of here without us mentioning
Amazing.
Critters.
Yeah. No, I love horror, but I just have never been really, besides Critters 4, never been had a role like that, a huge role. Right. So I was hesitant too. I'm a method actor. How do I make this believable? How do I believe it? And it just fell together. And I am, again, like Jill said, that part was so juicy for me. And I kept getting called back. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this woman. I want to do this character. Yeah. And I was really excited about it because, you just don't get an opportunity to do something. And they were very collaborative as well. Didn't you find that, Jill?
Oh, God.
That's a joy. As an actor, that's a joy to work like that.
Yeah. And that's in film, at least in my experience, is pretty rare. So yeah, no. And I think also it was the fact that it wasn't the little old lady sits alone knitting in the living room. Oh, there's a voice in the basement. I think I'll go down and see what it is. That was a monster.
Yeah.
It was it had depth, and
Yes.
the fact that Adam said to me, I think he said it even in the audition that it was inspired by his grandmother.
Yeah.
And the subject of Alzheimer's, Jesus, who isn't terrified by that? So
Yeah.
so those were all elements also that were very seductive to me in terms of getting to work on.
Absolutely. And
You mentioned collaboration, and I feel like this is what makes found footage or these fake documentaries effective is there's like an improv feel to it. How much of it was actually scripted, and how much of it did Adam just roll the cameras and go, "This is the situation, hit me,"
Well, he asked us to improvise in an audition the first time. I think it was the last audition, and Anne and I were brought in together, and I guess it was to have a chemistry test, Anne, and he said improvise. Now Anne is a professional improviser. Me, the whole idea is terrifying, so it was like, oh shit, and yet somehow it just seemed so easy to just be her mother. And so then when we got on set and he asked us to do that improvising, especially at the beginning of the film, it just seemed kind of natural and easy, and that was thrilling for me to have that opportunity to feel like, oh, this isn't so terrifying. Oh, I get it. Yeah, I can kind of do this. It was that was really great for me. And
Yeah, Jill, I have to echo that again. That experience with you, and with Adam, that he gave us that opportunity to have that interview. That's what you're talking about? That interview scene where we're both it's a total improv.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
joy to have that opportunity that Adam gave to us, and then on top of that, it was a joy to do that with you, Jill. And just I could have done that all day with you.
Yeah, exactly. I could have too, because so many things from my own past with my mother and everything else just kept floating to the surface.
Exactly. Me too, Jill. Exactly. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
It was. It
Well,
was.
And on that, I was wanted to ask, what was your experience working with Adam Robitel?
I just loved it. I just loved it. And I actually, before he was doing Escape Room, an actress that I'd worked with wrote to me and said, she was thinking of doing this part with Adam. And it was wonderful because I had the opportunity to just, sing his praises to the roof. It was, I think he's so smart, and times when, with a very low budget thing, stuff is going to go wrong. And it went hilariously wrong. And yet he was able to, well, most of the time, except at the end, just fall into the humor of it, and then very quickly switch to, okay, how are we going to create this impact without all that special effects stuff that we were counting on,
Yeah.
So he's very fast and very smart, and he's deep. He's got a deep understanding of what what is necessary to make the film work, I thought.
Yeah, I absolutely, Jill. And I just have to say, I work better with certain people and in certain ways, and he was just wonderful for me to work with, because he's calm when I needed him to be calm, and he's collaborative when I needed him to be collaborative. He was supportive, but not overly so. None of it was overly. He just walked a line of being in charge, but not like a dictator type. He
Right.
he gives you room to add your own art to his piece and to
Mhm.
your character, and that is just bliss to work like that for me. And also once in a while I'll get uptight and he knows how to handle me. And I don't always get uptight, but if I do, he knew how to just calm it down. And
Yeah.
I love that.
And it comes through in the movie. I will admit I was having a rough time with found footages movies around the time when Deborah Logan came out, so I had an absolute blast and pleasure revisiting it. So I always remember liking, especially the beginning of being like, oh, it's not so focused on the filmmakers; it's focused on the people in the situation. And I latched onto that so much more with this recent rewatch, and your performances, the chemistry between you two, like just having that choice of having you two and your relationship really shine, like added so much more weight to what was going on. And it was actually my partner's first time watching it with me yesterday. And her grandmother right now is dealing with Alzheimer's and all this stuff. So a lot of it was hitting home. And I know there was like a certain point where I could see it on her face where she was like, this better turn into a demonic thing or something, because this is getting too real. I need this to like kind of break away from it.
Yeah.
What was it like working with such a heavy subject? Because I mean, you guys are fully. Even just talking with you guys now, it seems like you guys have always been mother daughter and hanging out.
I was going to say, you have chemistry in this interview. I can totally see why they cast you on chemistry. You guys are great together.
I want to just say before I forget it, because I forget things now, even my lines. But I want to respond to what you just said, because I think, Jill, you can weigh in on this, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think both Jill and I kind of, it feels like we wanted to make it believable, and I think it is a horror film, but it's a hybrid. A bit of a hybrid horror film, would you say? And you and your partner, did she think like, well, this isn't all horror. There is some real stuff going on. There's a drama, a thing going through it, a through line. And I think that's a testament to how Jill and I worked together, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many little moments before the chaos really comes into play. Especially between the two of you early on, the very first conversation when Deborah's trying to back out of the film and you guys are in the kitchen together, or the little moments later, like Anne, when you're telling the story of when you were a little girl and then Deborah's going down the stairs, she's like, oh, you can go back to your lady friend. There's so much history and relationship that's seen both on how you interact with each other and what you say to each other, that it makes because it gets really ridiculous. It does. I mean, it's demonic possession. It's always comes with a level of like, you have to believe the unbelievable.
Right.
And I definitely think that like having such a strong connection and such a strong
the foundation of that was important to us, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you believe at the end, oh, this woman eating a child like a snake you're in it because of it.
Well, I guess so. I mean,
What's happening now, the reason that we have this interview now 10 years after the movie has come out is because it's the 10th anniversary, and there's a lot of special events that happen. Are you guys involved with any of those? Are you guys going to be at any of the screenings or anything? I know, Jill, you're in Minneapolis, so it's a little tougher.
well, I'll be in New York by the time but I don't know if it's set in stone yet, but there's supposed to be a screening in New York. And I know Anne knows more about what's going on in LA.
Right. I'm going to be at the screening the 21st in LA. I can't remember. You guys know, maybe. I'm so sorry. I should know this. But I think you guys know.
It's not really a movie.
Here it is.
Oh, no, you're good. So on, October 21st of this month in New York and LA at the Alamo Draft House, they're doing a live Q&A for Taking of Deborah Logan. I don't know if they confirmed, they just say the filmmakers will be there. Or yes, it looks like my apologies. I'm also pulling stuff up at the Los Angeles. They have co-writer is going to be there as well, and Gavin, and then I'm not sure who they have announced for the New York one, but it will be at the Lower Manhattan Alamo Drafthouse there. And,
There's one in Manhattan.
Yes, I think it's the
Alamo
fall week.
Drafthouse?
Yeah, I think it is, Jill. The fall. I could be wrong. Is it the same day?
It is. It looks to be on the same day, October 21st, and then not only that, there's a new Blu-ray debuting with Horror Pack. It's going to be their 101st limited edition that they're doing with new special features, all that fun jazz, which is a lot of fun. And I mean, you guys are on a lot of streaming sites now as well. Recently added to Shudder and all those others.
Yeah.
It was very easy to find when I wanted to revisit it.
Oh, good.
You can definitely see The Taking of Deborah Logan if you want to see it. It's out there.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Which reminds me, what has it been like the last 10 years since the movie? Are you guys approached by fans? Are you quoted? Have quotes thrown at you? Or
And why don't you answer that?
Well, once in a while, people will be like, they'll throw out The Taking of Deborah Logan. Oh my God, they're so
Right.
so excited about it, even more than any kind of other things that I've done. And that means that's a true horror fan. You know what I mean? They love it. And I love that enthusiasm about it. It doesn't happen a lot. It used to happen more often when it first came out, but once in a while I'll get someone to go, "Oh, you're from that movie." That scared the crap out of me. So that's always fun. I love being recognized. I love that. We're so lucky to be,
Yeah. Because we work
get
without
that
an
love from
audience.
people, from strangers as you walk down the street. It's just the most wonderful career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody asks you where your spade is when they see you, Jill?
Actually, I had kind of a funny incident happen just last spring when I was down in Cape May to see a friend, Dixie from All My Children, for those of you who know the show, was doing a play down there. So I went down to see her. And on my way back up, I was with the casting director for All My Children. And we stopped to have breakfast on our way back to New York. And we were in a place, we were the only customers there. It was vast and empty. And this young high school kid came up and took our order for tea, and then came back and took our order for the food. And he was just kind of funny, and finally kind of said, "Excuse me, but by any chance, do you know of an actress named Jill Larson?" I said, yeah, I really didn't know how to answer. Such a weird question. And he said, "Well, you look exactly like this woman, Jill Larson, who played on The Taking of Deborah Logan." It's incredible. And so he kind of started to go on, and finally Judy said, "Well, actually, this is Jill Larson." And he almost, passed out on the floor. It was such a response. And then he went on and on and on about how much he loved the film. And you're right, Anne, because it's your opportunity to really connect with someone who received your work.
It's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I've had many things like that. A group of Latino girls standing around the pole in the subway, when we're headed downtown, and saying, "Oh yeah, it was about," they're talking in, so they're speaking in Spanish, but then you hear the word Alzheimer's, and what they're talking about, So.
Oh man!
And something else I wanted to ask about The Taking of Deborah Logan, Jill, was what was it like working with all that makeup effects, especially toward the end?
Well, that's also a bit of a long story, but I was actually fine with all of it until that moment in the hospital when I had to have blood coming out of my mouth. And for some reason, the idea of putting that stuff in my mouth was just, that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do. I managed holding the snakes. I managed digging in the dirt in my nightgown at 4 a.m. All of those things I could sort of take in. But that one thing was just like, no, don't make me do that. Can't you just put it on the outside? And so that was the hardest thing. But yeah, I mean, that very thing at the end, we tried to do it in, what would you call it? And I guess in a real way. And they had made this very elaborate mask, and
Yeah.
that did not work at all. But that also, I said, I have just enough claustrophobia, so I can give you maybe 45 minutes to an hour in this mask.
Yeah.
And I know.
I remember that. Yeah.
I know that you cannot get this. This is the one place where I said, please get a double.
Yeah.
And that hadn't happened, but already the rocks that were made looked like paper mache meatballs. And so it was just, that was a very hard night for everybody. And that's the night when I saw Adam. I mean, because I was ready to blow, and
Yeah.
he maintained his calm, said, okay. I mean, he acknowledged that this was absurd, but, so they shot it, and clearly it wasn't able to work. And then they were able to get, access to some CGI and special effects to make it work. So.
Oh man, night shoots, doing found footage, and then you add in practical effects and you add in all that. Understandable, like the tensions are going to be extremely high. So
Yeah.
I understand. Oh man, and you're telling me those caves weren't real?
The what?
Those caves were the caves you guys, they're the tunnels you guys were in. Those weren't real.
Oh, yeah, but that was before that very last moment where you're going to eat the baby, and that.
Joe. Oh my God.
I love. You said paper mache meatballs, and I was like, "What, dude? Those caves look really dope." Oh, man.
Yeah, no, we were on a linoleum floor, and they'd sprinkled some sand around, and there were these things that you couldn't even walk by them, but they wouldn't roll. I mean, the whole thing was
awesome.
just the worst nightmare, and I don't know who they hired to do this, but they clearly didn't get the message, and so, excuse me, that was that was the hardest night. But like I said, Adam did not, pitch a fit or do any of those classic, directorial temper tantrums or blame or anything. He somehow held it together, and I thought, well, you are an evolved being, because couldn't do what you're doing right now.
And it came out great. That finale still looks great, and is very convincing, you guys. And especially when you're crawling through the really claustrophobic bit with the snakes, and you just throw one, go, get the fuck out of here. It cracks me up every time.
We've got to wrap this up here, but what do you guys have in the cooker? What projects do you guys have coming out that we can plug?
Well, we've just been through a pandemic and then 2 strikes. So the pickings are slim these days,
okay.
At least my corner of the world. I am going to be doing another horror film called Death Diner. And it's just a little cameo that I'll do at the beginning, but I'm doing it because the writer is my manager, and I love him. So
Awesome.
But you have something coming out, don't you, Anne?
No, it just aired. And I did the season opener of the 21st season of Grey's Anatomy, and it just aired
Nice.
last weekend, 2 weeks ago about. And
Ah,
So that was fun to be a part of that. Boy, is that a nice cast and crew. Everyone's so happy and grateful for the work. And I mean, it's been 21 seasons. And yeah, I got to be on the season opener of this season. And Debbie Allen directed it. And it was a fun role. It was a fun role. I ended up... well, maybe I should. Well, yeah, I can say it. My character ends up trapped inside a wall of the hospital because I was trying to escape. So, yeah,
Wow.
it was fun.
Talk about
I can't
claustrophobia.
wait to go see that. Oh, great. Thank you for telling me.
Saying that makes me want to watch the episode to see what happens. That was
Right? Right?
I
that was a
want to watch
great
the
plug.
episode to see Anne Ramsay.
Anne Ramsay is the hider in the hospital.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Hider in the
It
hospital.
sounds like it has an
Stubborn
element
woman.
of terror in it.
Pardon me?
It sounds like being trapped in a wall offers an element of terror.
Oh, yes, yes. There is some juicy stuff going on and prosthetics and blood and all that, you know.
Gosh.
You know how we do, Jill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, great. Well,
My ball cap.
thank you very much for joining us this morning. Jill, happy birthday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And everybody go see The Taking of Deborah Logan for the 10th anniversary. If you don't want to make it out to a screening, like we were alluding to earlier, you can find it pretty much anywhere on any of the streaming services. So check it out if you haven't and revisit it if you have. Our theme song is by Restless Spirit, so go check them out. And our artwork is by Chris Fisher, so go check him out. You can find us on the socials at Eye on Horror or at iHorror.com, which is the site we all call home. Where can we find you guys on the socials to keep up with what you guys are doing? Are you guys on any of the social medias anything?
Well, I have a Facebook page and I am on Instagram, but I'm not a very active participant.
I'm not either. My dog is more active on Instagram than I am.
Oh, man. It's just, yeah.
Me too. Me
Big
too.
learning curve for somebody who didn't start out their life with all this stuff. So.
Well, go to their IMDb's and keep up with what they're doing because, again, both of them are real active and they go back a long way. So go back and dig up Dexter or 6 Feet Under. 6 Feet Under is the one that my wife was impressed with, Anne. She's like, oh, she was on 6 Feet Under.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. To me, that show was an awesome show too. And Dexter, both of those were, really awesome to be a part
Did
of.
you work with Matthew St. Patrick, Anne,
Matthew
on 6 Feet Under?
Matthew St. Patrick, was he the
He's black.
yes. We
Yeah,
had one, I think we had one big group scene together. What a nice
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love him. He played my son on All My Children.
Okay, great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice guy. Really great guy.
Yeah.
There you go. In the same universe, you could be
That's
yeah. Everything. Okay, well, again, thanks again for joining us. And everybody see The Taking of Deborah Logan. And
Thank you for having us.
Oh,
Yes, truly.
truly our pleasure. You guys, like we were saying before, you guys even have chemistry in the interview. You guys are great together. We will see everybody in a couple of weeks. So for me, James Shea Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
I'm Jonathan Correia.
I'm Anne Ramsay.
And I'm Jill Larson.
Keep your eye on horror.